exit strategy is the best of the Murderbot novellas. That will be all. You may send your questions to my assistant's email. Just kidding. We're gonna get way into this. The thing that makes exit strategy the best of the Murderbot novellas is kind of because it's the fourth. Because it is the culmination of this plot arc that has been building and stretching and becoming more and more delicious as the books have progressed. This story is amazing and rich because it stands on the platform that the previous books have given to it. Here, we finally get the culmination of the arc that Murderbot has been going through, which is trying to figure out if it can fit into human society and how can it do that, and can it trust its friends from Preservation Ox. In book 1, it ran away from those friends and couldn't accept them. In book 2, Murderbot kind of accepted that it deserves to have friends and it's possible for it to find its own path. And in book 3, Murderbot internalized that it can make friends with humans, even humans that technically own it, and that this can still be a real and fulfilling and genuine friendship. And then when all of those things come together in book 4 and Murderbot finally reunites with and confronts its friends, it's beautiful because it's just the thing that we've been working towards for all of these stories. And reading this book, which is the conclusion of the mini arc from books 1 to 4, that's what really helped me appreciate book 3, and more on that in my review about book 3. The central emotional conflict of this book is that Murderbot is worried about reuniting with its friends because it doesn't know how this is gonna work anymore. Murderbot has changed both physically on the outside and emotionally on the inside, and it doesn't know how its friends are going to take that. Are they going to be mad that it disappeared? Are they going to be accepting? Are they going to judge it? Are they going to treat it as subhuman? And I think this emotional conflict is so compelling, at least for me, because when I was reading this book, that was also the questions on my mind. We didn't really get to know this team of humans well enough in book 1 to truly understand them here in book 4. So while I can guess that this team of humans will welcome Murderbot back with open arms, it's possible that they really won't. And so as Murderbot feels this anxiety, this reluctance to reconnect with its old friends because it doesn't know how that's gonna work, I'm feeling it right there along with Murderbot. And the humans feel the wide range of emotions. Rati is just happy that Murderbot is back, and Pinley is angry that Murderbot ran away in the first place. Garothin still doesn't trust Murderbot, and even less now, and Mensa is just entirely relieved to have this backup, and also feeling guilty that she drove it away in the first place. And all of this juicy emotional conflict and resolution and connection to my own feelings and thoughts in this book is what really made this a 5-star experience for me. But let's talk about my favorite scene in this book. And I love this scene because it reveals the ways that Murderbot thinks differently from the average human, and how their perspectives are just so different and wide from each other, but also still on the same overall track. Let me just explain to you the scene. So this is in chapter 4, when Murderbot and various humans are planning to rescue Mensa, and they're talking about the possibility that Mensa is going to be surrounded by human enemy guards. And Garothin asks Murderbot, "Are you going to kill them?" And Murderbot, kind of fed up with being diplomatic because Garothin continually doesn't trust it, answers, "If I have to." Which is of course not what Garothin wanted to hear. So Garothin replies, "You feel you're qualified to make that call." And then Murderbot responds by listing some statistics about how many near-death experiences and missions it has successfully completed, and says, "I'm more than qualified to make that call." So here's the interesting thing about this, is that Murderbot and Garothin are talking about like completely different calls here, and it is just so beautiful to me to see that little miscommunication. Because Garothin is taking the average human point of view, which is that call is the call of, do I have the power to make the judgment this person deserves to die? So what Garothin is asking when he says, "Do you feel you're qualified to make that call?" is, do you really think you're qualified to judge the value of a human life? And I think from Garothin's perspective, the answer to this would be no, especially because Sec Unit isn't even a human. And Murderbot doesn't seem to super value human life as an abstract concept here. So Garothin is mistrusting and poking at Murderbot Because Garothan feels that it isn't qualified to make these life and death decisions because it doesn't have the same value on human life that a human might place on it. But on the other hand, Murderbot is taking this conversation way more literally, because Murderbot doesn't say, yes, I'm going to kill the guards in order to get Mensa back. Murderbot isn't necessarily saying that getting Mensa back is worth killing all of these people. Murderbot is saying, I will kill them if I have to. And when Garothan says, are you qualified to make that call? It says yes, because it's qualified to make the call of, do I have to kill these humans? Because while Murderbot might not necessarily value intrinsically human life, it does value using the minimum force required in a situation. It doesn't just want to go on killing sprees. It is only going to kill the guards if it has to in order to complete the objective, which is getting Mensa back. So we see that Murderbot has these tied priorities of completing the objective and using the minimum force possible to do so, and it feels it's qualified to make that balance and make that call between those two priorities. But the conversation around valuing a human life because it's a person isn't something that Murderbot is super qualified to talk about. And when Garothan tries to engage Murderbot in a conversation kind of about that, I feel like it just goes right over Murderbot's head. And this ties right back to what I've talked about, I think in my review for book 2 of Murderbot, where one of Murderbot's central conflicts is figuring out if it's a person, how it feels about that, and what is the value that comes with being a person. And here we see that Murderbot doesn't really consider that just because you're a person means you deserve to live. That yes, Murderbot has its own moral code, which is a pretty good one, but it doesn't quite line up with the moral code of the average human. So that was my favorite scene. I honestly love kind of all of the banter and conversations between Murderbot and Garothan. I love how their dynamic progresses from, in book 1, pretty antagonistic, to slowly progressing to mildly antagonistic, but definitely friends working together well. And one of the other little characterization moments that I loved in this book, at the very end, when Murderbot has lost most of its memory and processing capabilities, and it's waking up, and it's surrounded by its human friends. These human friends knew that when Murderbot woke up, it was likely going to have extreme brain damage. This could be very dangerous, because it's a rogue sec unit. It could start attacking people that it doesn't realize are its friends, brain damage, etc. I don't know if I'd be comfortable hanging out in that room while Murderbot was waking up. But these humans have decided to trust Murderbot. Even Garothan has decided to trust Murderbot, that its intentions are pure even if it's damaged. And that little gesture of trust that Murderbot isn't inherently dangerous is just like, so beautiful. And you can see how these humans have slowly gotten there as Murderbot has saved them again and again and again and again. And as Murderbot slowly wakes up, the things that it first comes out of its mouth really define who it is. And one of these little things I thought was so interesting because it's kind of poking at a general trope, which is Murderbot says like, hey, I don't want to be a human. And then Mensa is like, well, most humans are going to expect that you want to be human because you look like a human. And this is poking at like pretty much every other android story in science fiction. Not all of them, but like a vast majority of stories about AIs that become sentient and androids and all of those things is that it's like a Pinocchio complex. They want to become human, they want to become more human-like. That's the stories that we tell ourselves about these intelligent machines. But the Murderbot series isn't about that. Murderbot wants to be more integrated into human society because it wants respect and company and all the things that humans want. But it doesn't want to be human. It doesn't see the advantages in that. But of course, as I said at the beginning, the thing that really makes this book golden is the way that it ties up the plot that has been building since book 1. And I love the parallels of the ending of this book and the ending of book 1. Because at the end of book 1, Murderbot ran away from the preservation humans for various reasons. At the end of this book, Murderbot decides to stay, because it has gone through that character development, that journey of being able to accept friendship and respect and being able to accept that it can find its own way and it can find its own purpose, even if that's with humans. And it gives it the perfect springboard to the next adventures, like book 5, Network Effect, which I have a very beautiful video brewing. So make sure to check that out because I'm super excited about my video for book 5. If you made it to the end of the video, comment with a mechanical arm or leg emoji, just so I know you're there. Thanks for watching!